What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of Watching Paint Dry here on Another Letdown. My name is Zach from Another Letdown Media and the This Is Difficult video game podcast. I will be one of your hosts this evening. And joining me on the line, as always, it's my painting buddies. We're out here. We've got, well, my perennial painting partner and our resident monkey handler. It's Broody Gambit. How's it going, dude?
It's going great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Unfortunately, Adam is not able to join us, but we have a new recurring guest host on the show. Give it up for producer extraordinaire, the guy who gives us all our bad ideas here on the channel. It's the other Mike. It's Chamali. How's it going, man?
It's going well. I only give the worst of ideas, by the way.
Well, anyway, this is the show where we hang out late at night after we probably should have thought about going to bed. We have lives and families and things, and work through the ridiculous backlog of miniatures we've accumulated over the years that need painting. There's an old adage that says if a miniatures painter ever runs out of projects to paint, he or she will die. So we're just trying to stave off death for as long as possible. It's been a little while since we've been here. This particular miniature that I'm working on tonight has been sitting here literally since the last episode. But my daughter was going through a pretty heinous sleep regression thing, and I was not in a headspace to do anything other than try and sleep. And Adam is going through something similar, just not in the right headspace. That's why he's not with us tonight, but he will be joining us soon. We're all set up to have him back, hopefully next week. But we are out here painting. I'm working on Hush, and then I've got Professor Xavier over here. If we get to that point, we probably will. And boys, you want to tell everybody what you're working on? Go for it.
I'm working on Thundercats. I've got Wildcat and Camperoo.
Nice. What is...
I have the Black Goat of the Woods from Cthulhu Death May Die.
Nice. Very cool. We will be careful not to say her actual name.
I don't think
I know her name.
It's Shub. But there's...
Oh, is she actually the Black Goat?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well, loosely related. Like, they're from the same... I don't know. It's complicated. Oh, there we go. Fix the music. I believe... See, where's Richard Lanius when you need him? The volume control for my headset is totally not working at all. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Folks, please tell me if... I mean... Okay, so RPD is taking issue with my crediting you with our worst ideas, Chamali. Worst ideas that we actually do, RPD. How's that? Also, Remote Error, welcome back. It's been a little while. My schedule's been a little erratic here on the show, so trying to go live Mondays and Fridays and Saturdays, but that doesn't necessarily always work. Although, channel update. While I'm thinking about it, streams will be later, coming out on the weeknights. They'll be after dinner, before bed, because my daughter just requires a little more attention while she's awake. But she's sleeping through the night for the moment, so that's pretty cool. How's yours doing, Chamali?
She's sleeping right now. She's well, though. Thanks
Good.
for asking.
Yeah, of course. Ah. There was that game. Yeah, RPD's bringing up the... Well, there were several games that Dolphin had me do that were ill-advised. There was the... I think he's referring to the 10,000 points of damage to Oblivion's face game. We did it. It just crashed the game. There's an infinite guise loop. So I'm just working on edge highlighting here for this mini. It's pretty much all I got left, and then we'll move on to Xavier.
So I am doing an undercoating technique basically started off with dry brushing or priming it black, and then
Oh, you can't hear either of the other mics.
no, that's not.
That's garbage.
I mean, they're coming through. Are they just too quiet?
We should probably be talking. That way they can actually hear us instead of being silent.
Yeah, like I'm seeing your audio levels. They're very quiet. All right, that's
We're
odd.
very, very quiet. That's because we're hunting rabbits.
Probably. Try that, RPD. I turned them both up.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Broody,
Good.
you're really quiet.
Yeah, Birdie just got really quieter, actually.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's better. I turned you way up.
Right now I just turned to face my mic a little bit more. Right now I'm not.
We artists become silent when we focus. Yeah, it's true. That's the hardest part of this show is like, Adam and I have pretty good banter, but like when we're bantering, we tend to get distracted.
Yeah, I tend to focus on what I'm doing and get lost in thought.
Yeah. That's part of why we added Chamali is like just one more voice to the program. But also like we do like even off stream the four of us do tend to hang out a lot and collaborate and paint at the same time. Whether we're on camera with each other or not, we're always firing ideas off at each other. Oops, that's way too much. Mistakes were made. I have to go to smaller brush then.
Let's do that.
Chamali, this is where you learn the lesson that all of us not named Adam has to learn on the stream. Being audible while painting is difficult. RPD, of course, referencing the podcast that I am on and Chamali produces. Yet one more feather in his producerial capacity cap. I mean, like that is your primary. Less so lately, but
Yeah,
that's like the thing that you are the official producer of. I always credit you with being the producer here on this channel too, just because you do give me constructive feedback. I often push back against it, but
occasionally an idea breaks through.
yeah, a lot of it is like you make a suggestion and I'm like, that would require effort. I'm not doing it. But you're in general absolutely right, and I should do it. But Paul and I were talking about this the other day on just before the podcast. Like, we are both at the point now where we're too old to be streamers. Like, and neither one of us is like professing to be a professional streamer. Like, that's absurd. We both have careers and lives and things outside of this. And we do this for fun. Coming up very soon, I'm not sure which channel it'll be on. Look forward to an announcement in the coming weeks. We will be streaming a yeah, good point, RPD. But he's not he's retired. Like, anyway, coming up in the next couple of weeks, Paul and I will be streaming Goof Troop again. But this time we're going to be doing a ROM hack that I found.
That is such a good game.
It's such a good game. DK Oldies, where I get a lot of, I do a lot less ordering from them and more just kind of fact finding, and watching their incredibly satisfying shipping videos. They asked recently what your favorite retro gaming memory was, and I was like, you know what, it's very recent. It's playing Goof Troop with Paul on stream. That game went from what we thought was hot garbage when we played it single player to one of the best multiplayer experiences I've ever had.
I don't think I've ever. I'm sorry.
Better than Scott Pilgrim?
Tis the experience we don't mention.
Yeah, that was that came up in my Facebook memories the other day.
The actual game playing, or just you mentioning and hyping
us trying to hype it. Broody and I were both trying to hype it, and that ended up being a mistake. RPD asks, more exciting than meeting Mega Man Zero for the first time. Yeah, that's not a multiplayer game. Mega Man X was his first appearance, as far as I know, and
we were talking about this. I don't know. Was I talking about it? I don't know who I was talking about it with.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned, I was like, well, I think I would rather right now play any game co-op than some of the best single player games.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's a complete trash game co-op.
100%. 100%. Like,
that's
there. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's like the stage of gaming I'm at, like, right now.
Yeah.
I don't have as much time, and if I can do two things I love at once, it's way better than.
So I don't know how it's been for you, but like since we had the kid, I haven't seen my friends. So like my interaction with my local friends, my interaction with people is either work or hanging out with you guys, and so playing multiplayer games is so much more satisfying to me, even if the game is utter trash, than playing a single player game. Like I just played, Pokemon Violet, but it definitely wasn't as satisfying by any means as playing Goof Troop.
Yep, I agree. I'm in a similar boat. Like, I just don't have time to go out and do things. And if I do have time, it's like, okay, well, hold on. I have to rearrange this entire schedule of my time now.
Right.
So it might look a little weird, or I might have to cut time short, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And so whenever I have like time to play or something like that, if I can do something with a buddy of mine, it's partly why I haven't beaten Midnight Suns yet.
I'm looking very much forward to playing Midnight Suns, but yeah, I at this juncture I can't justify it. I have like a brown dry paint that is going to really make this duster work. Because my attempt to edge highlight it did not work the way I wanted it to. It ended up being like way too bright. It's not showing up very well on camera, but like the highlights are just way, way, way too light. So here we go. Yep, Sylvaneth Bark. That's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, RPD, like that'd be a great challenge, man.
What's the challenge?
To find some just trash multiplayer games to challenge me and Paul to. We would gladly do that. If when we can find the time.
Army of Two.
Army of Two is actually fun.
Yeah, the game's fun.
Army of Two is really good if you're playing it with a second person. It is garbage if it's single player.
Yeah, and that's what Goof Troop is like too. Like, yeah, I think Paul and I had Goof Troop at a 5 out of 10 before we started playing it single or multiplayer. And now it's like I said, it's one of our favorite multiplayer games.
Speaking of retro games,
go on.
The Game Boy Advance games and the Game Boy in general games on the Switch
are so good. My God.
Haven't gotten to play them yet, but I can't imagine how it took them so long to do things like this.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous to me.
So my concern right now is that the Switch is I think it's 7 years old.
It's old. It's getting up there for sure.
I want to say it's like 7 years old.
No, that's too bad.
RPD will probably do it like a check or something. And
Yeah, RPD is usually my guy for that. RPD, can you get the age of the Switch for us?
But like that is long for a console generation.
Yes, it is.
And I know like the PS2 had like a 10-year lifespan before, but still, I'm worried that they're adding all this cool stuff, and then they're going to be like, okay, here's your Switch 2. None of that translates.
Yeah, like, I'm terrified of that.
But on this, I'm sorry, go on, Mike.
I was just going to say that would suck.
It would. But on the same side of things, from the DS to the 3DS, they actually did honor a lot of their commitments. Like,
yeah.
And even to the new 3DS, like everything was backwards compatible between those.
Yeah. Oh, Chamali, your camera went out. That's not going well.
Hold on. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. I just heard a beep. I guess Nintendo didn't like the way I was talking about them.
They never do. So one of the things that I miss a lot, though, and I'm realizing this, I spent the afternoon watching. So we're, like I mentioned, we're doing sleep training with Kara. So, I have some bits of time here and there to just sit still. So I spent most of the afternoon watching Game Grumps play through Metroid, or Super Metroid, which is one of my favorites. I know the game inside and out because when I was doing the late night holds when Kara was like a month old or less than a month old, that's pretty much all I did was watch Metroid speedruns. And one of the things I realized that I miss is couch co-op, or just couch watching of games. I was always my buddy's player too, and I kind of resented that. But now that I'm like looking back on it, I'm like, oh man, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought. And it makes like just sitting there and watching a game and talking our way through it and making decisions together does scratch a fair amount of that multiplayer itch.
That's interesting. I've never really been a game watcher.
Yeah, I don't like watching.
Even when it's like you guys playing on Twitch or something, like I can't sit here and like just watch. Like I'll support you guys and I'll have it on the background and maybe it'll like be more like background noise for me.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm doing something else, but
well, I don't think streaming or watching streams does scratch that itch though.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, because I'm not actively participating in it. I don't watch a whole lot of streams. I mean, apologies to Captain Kirk, apologies to Blink, apologies to Paul, but like unless it's a game I really know inside and out, or care in some way about, I can't be arsed to watch it at this point in my life. Because I just wish at that point I was playing it myself.
Yeah.
But to sit on my in person with a buddy and be like, "Oh, we're playing this game," that does kind of bring back some positive memories for me.
That's good.
Yeah. I mean, RPD brought up the Mega Man Zero thing, and that is maybe my strongest. No, that's way too white. Video game memory. There we go. Screaming Skull. That's what. You're not the only streamer I've been 100% of the transfer. Oh. I appreciate it, RPD. Captain Kirk was around for a good chunk of the stream yesterday. So was Blink. We had a good time.
What were you streaming yesterday?
God of War Ragnarok. Almost done. Like, I'm in. So I made the decision after the first stream, like where I did a bunch of side quests in the first stream, that I wasn't going to do the side quests on camera because I want to spend some amount of time just chilling with this game, enjoying it for myself. So I'm just doing main story stuff, and we're into the last chapter of the main story.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The first one was so good.
It was. This second one is not.
Well, I'm glad I didn't pick it up yet. I don't have a PS5, so I'm going to wait for it on PC.
Yeah. Is it going to come to PC, do you think?
I couldn't see why they wouldn't port it at this point. Like, they're porting most of their exclusives over. And if they don't, then I just won't play it, I guess. I'm not, like... That,
yeah.
Like, yeah. Especially after you saying it's not as good.
Yeah, it bothers me a little that it's not as good because by rights it should be.
I think...
But...
Sequels... Okay, so there's this whole big thing on sequels. Sequels aren't ever as good as the main thing.
Right.
I don't think that's always true. But I think it's mostly true because your expectations for a sequel are already there.
Yeah.
You have raised your expectations to be as good or better than the first.
Right.
And so if your expectations are already up there, and even if it meets the same standards as the first one, then it's like, oh, it didn't bring that same feeling that the first one did when it came out of nowhere. The unexpected surprise, which was that game for me, like, I swore off God of War for years. Like, I didn't... After the second one, I was like, I'm done with this series.
Mm-hmm.
And I just bought it on a whim type of thing because I heard good things. And I was like, I'll try, I'll see where it is. And it's like, oh my God, this is actually really good. It brought me back into the world.
Yeah, that. I had never played a God of War game ever. And Paul was like, dude, this is your kind of game. Like, you're going to like this. And I was like, And he's like, you've got a PlayStation. Go freaking play this game. And I did, and I loved it. And I got really into the whole, yelling boy constantly. You know how many times he's called Atreus boy in the second game?
5.
1.
There's so many jokes about it.
Yeah. And that's, like, I almost think they should just lean into the joke at this point. And, Atreus has been really whiny. He's really, like, it's tough to play as him because the segments are just interminable. Spoiler alert, you play as Atreus. I realized something. Why didn't we do a gimmick where one person played God of War and the other played Hades so we could say one person plays Dad of Boy, the other plays Boy of Dad? I wish it was the kind of game where you could play, like, you could do a randomizer.
I like that.
That'd be so cool. So as per usual, I'm pretty disappointed with this mini. The sculpt is bad. The molded plastic just looks weird.
Which mini?
Hush. It doesn't look terrible, but I don't love it.
This is for Gotham City Chronicles.
Gotham City Chronicles, yeah. I'm just trying to finish these up. I'm just sick of looking at them. But it also gives me a nice break from the Marvel stuff, which is sorely needed, considering how much Marvel we've done in a row. Oh dear. I lost another pot of Abaddon Black. What's this? Oh no, never mind. I've got another one. Totally sealed. We're fine.
I get that. I tend to jump from project to project.
I can't do that. I will absolutely lose my mind if I do that.
As long as I finish part of something, I can do it. So I finished the base box of Cthulhu Death May Die. So I was like, oh, I can now jump to something else. Or I finished
Okay, I see what you're saying.
yeah, I finished a whole box of the Batman Ogg stuff. Okay, let's jump. And that's when I jumped to Death May Die, and so I finished that. And so then I was like, in between waiting for something else, and I was like, I'll start Black Go to the Woods. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because that's where I was like, right on the cusp of being burnt out, because I finished H-Man, and H-Man had all of the tentacles, and it was a pain to do. And so I picked the next guy with all the tentacles.
Naturally.
Yeah. He is not nearly as bad as H-Man, though.
She.
But, I'm sorry.
All right, because I'm an idiot. Why is my caps lock on? Oh, hang on. Okay, Lovecraft does associate Shub with the Black Go to the Woods. Yes, okay. It is Shub. She is associated with the phrase "the Black Go to the Wood and the Thousand Young." The only other name was the Lord of the Woods in the Whisperer in the Darkness. So yes, Shub is the Black Go to the Woods. At least as Lovecraft intended. It looks like possibly that may have been retconned by like later writers, Robert M. Price, who interpreted. It looks like something that Lord Dunsany wrote. Might have been the inspiration there. But yeah, it does appear that you are currently painting Shub.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep. You know what we call that on the show? Learning and
Right.
growing. I'm going to cover for caps lock, I swear. Yeah. You know, Chromebooks did it right. It's a search button now. That button is wildly invasive. Oh, by the way, here's Hush. Hush is done. I'm sick of looking at this. He looks fine. Like I'm not upset about it. The sculpt has yielded not my best work.
You can put them on a table and you won't be pissed.
Yeah, I won't be upset about it. And that's kind of what I'm going for with Gotham City Chronicles. It's like, Adam's absolutely right. The game is so crunchy that I doubt I'll ever play it outside of the people who I've already played it with, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to introduce it to new people.
Sorry, Broody, what was that?
Don't want to introduce it to new people.
Exactly. Yeah.
You go through all of the rules.
Yeah. All right. Professor X. Let's get a reference image up.
Google Patrick Stewart.
Say again?
Google Patrick Stewart.
I'm going to go with the animated series.
There's a difference?
Slightly. Oh, I booked my Gen Con flight today, by the way.
Nice.
Yes.
Whoa. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, very, very excited about that.
I want to go back to Gen Con soon.
Well, the time was right. I had the money from sale of Magic cards. I sold 42 cards and got almost $1,000 for it.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I still got all most of my sealed product. I sold one box and got like 200 and change.
I'm glad I don't play that game. Let me just.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that I had the value kicking around because I needed the money, but like, good grief. Oh, I'm definitely too old for cons RPD. Just this afternoon, I was complaining to my buddy that I'm too old for Free Comic Book Day.
That's is that a thing? Can
Too
you
old
see
for
the
cons.
Free Comic Book Day?
So, okay, let me be clear here. the way that Rochester, New Hampshire, Jetpack Comics, shout out, does Free Comic Book Day, I am too old for. Like, it's an all day standing in a hallway directing traffic gig, and I'm just it absolutely exhausts me. So this year I'm going, and I will just be hanging out.
It's Free Comic Book Day, that is.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll probably be working Gen
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely working Gen Con. It is easy. I find it easier. Broody, you can probably speak to this as well. I find it easier to work a con than to just go. Because having a home base is just it's centering in some way. All right, I guess I'm going cartoon then.
I get that.
There we go. All right, here we go. Let's start. I mean, the biggest area is the yellow, so let's start there. Everyone Sunset, where are you? I do enjoy, like, on Magic, though, I do enjoy playing the game, but I don't enjoy, like, trying to keep up with it. Which is why I built the silver bordered cube. I can play exactly the cards that make me laugh and make me enjoy, spending time with people. And then I'm good, for a while. So that's pretty much all I'm keeping. I've got to find someone to go through my commons and uncommons and pull out value and figure out what I can sell and what I can't. Or what I should just bulk off.
Yeah. I have no idea on all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a nuisance.
I played Magic once. I thought it was a fun game, but
yeah, the game is solid when it obeys its own rules. But as soon as it stops obeying its own rules, which is frequent, it becomes unfun again.
do this unless you have this.
Right.
But I honestly, I think that's what makes it good. Is
yes, but
rules.
But there's a yeah, exactly. There's a limit to it. I'm sorry, but adding Warhammer 40,000 to it seems monumentally stupid to me.
What about adding Transformers?
That doesn't seem as stupid to me, because Transformers are already tongue-in-cheek. Like, they almost fit in my tongue-in-cheek cube. In fact, I have several Transformers cards in that. But I don't know.
So my drink of the evening is some GT's Synergy Trilogy.
Yeah, I've got Lemonberry up here. GT's Kombucha, not a sponsor, and Dave, you're running out of time, buddy, because I'm gonna start making my own.
Really?
Yep. My wife and I have decided to start making our own.
It's a lot stronger than GT's.
Oh, I know.
I think GT's is good, but it's not like, it's very like watered. I don't know if it's watered down, but
it's juiced down, is what it is, and that's exactly how I intend to do it. I want to try and recreate GT's as best I can. Now, that said, I know that's going to be a challenge, and we'll see what happens.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
And hopefully it works. Because the only problem with kombucha is the price.
Yeah, exactly. Although I'll tell you, when I was playing God of War yesterday, like 2 streams ago, I was hella motion sick afterward. Poor RPD was like, dude, you keep burping. Are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. But I was like squirming and uncomfortable. I had GT's kombucha ginger aid yesterday. My stomach did not hiccup once.
Ginger, I love ginger.
Ginger's great. Ginger's absolutely great. Okay.
Water?
Yeah. Okay.
More of a blood red. Probably slaughter. That's what we're doing. So, because I waited so long on painting him, instead of doing things the right way, I decided to cheat. And I'm using some speed paints.
Ah, of course.
The shield minis that are sitting right here also, I'm not cheating on, and they're taking me forever. Which I probably should have done that in reverse, since he's a 1 mini and they are 35 minis. But
I mean, a lot of it comes down to what's motivating to me at this moment.
And yeah, what I'm having fun with, and I was having fun painting them up until the last 10 or so.
Yeah.
And it's not that I stopped having fun. It was more that I just got distracted, and getting me back into a project is very difficult.
Yeah.
But I just want him off my table.
I mean, that's part of why I haven't... Like, I've got General Rom sitting over here that I want to finish this mini badly, but I can't be arsed. Because Gears is done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Yeah, that's fine.
Too bright red. So, one thing that I really like about the Arming paint or contrast paints, or they're speed paints.
I mean, call them what they are. They're contrast paints.
Is what actually I do like this. Most people consider it a issue, and that is that they reactivate. So what this means?
They what?
They reactivate. What this means is that if you use water, which most people water down their paints, the speed paint will turn back on and start to.
Oh, you mean when you do a second layer?
Yeah, if you do a second layer or something like that, if you don't let the speed paint dry for a really ridiculous time or put like a varnish on it, it'll start to maybe like blend or go into another color.
Right.
Most people consider that an issue, which, if you explain it like that, it kind of is.
Sure.
However, what's nice about it is that if you know of the issue ahead of time,
you can work around it.
Work around it. But more importantly, if you want to lighten an area up, all you need to do is dip your brush into some water and just slightly go over it, and it will start to get you highlights and do a lot of that extra work.
Yeah.
Just by not doing the work. If that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. It's exactly what I tell my students all the time. Look for those shortcuts. That is, I am enabling you to be lazy. You have that right. But you got to work smart, not like don't try to work against your material.
Take your biggest advantage or disadvantage and turn it into an advantage.
Exactly.
The other nice thing is that it takes a while to dry fully. So you can really blend nicely multiple colors on it. Like very smooth transitions and stuff like that with them.
Yeah. That's something I struggle with, is blending, but I just do it differently than everybody else, and I guess that's my issue.
With that being said, Army Painter is fixing that issue because...
Oh, are they? I guess I'm not surprised by that.
Second set of paints coming out is supposed to fix it. I don't know where they are in that. I don't keep up with them or anything.
Right.
It's just one of those things that I heard about and was like, oh, that's cool.
I am so darn sick of... That's a Scrubs reference, by the way. That's not me trying to censor myself. Of GW paints. Like, I'm sitting here using them, but I'm like, I never want to buy these again if I can help it. But I still have yet to find the ability to... or like, I don't want to order them online, because then I'm waiting. And I want to support local businesses. Because I always like to support local businesses. Problem is,
Always support them if you can.
I can't find a local business that carries paint for miniatures. Even the local hobby stores, like, nah, we don't care. Or like the local game store. It's like, nah, we don't carry any paints. Like, oh, that's helpful.
That's my issue, is the nearest store to me is not that far. It's like 30 to 40 minutes away, if that.
Yeah. But that's far enough when you've got a small child, you know?
But exactly. That means it's an hour to an hour and a half just in driving.
Right. I mean, I'm even reluctant to go. There's I posted in the podcast Discord this afternoon, the local pawn shop or thrift store guy says he's got some Nintendo stuff coming in this week. And I'm like, all right, well, first of all, that sounds an awful lot like you've already got it and you're trying to scum me, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt here. But now I got to find a time next week to not have the baby and go take a look at what is probably going to be substandard Nintendo stuff.
But even if 10% of it is decent, the odds are pretty good that you'll find one that's decent.
Yeah. I mean, do I need any more Game Boys at the moment? No. I've got enough over here that I can't even hold them all up. But like, it's worth looking, because if he's going to sell me one for, cheap, if he doesn't know what he's got, then I'm going to take full advantage of that.
But at the same time, if it's a thrift store, like,
right,
the point is not to gouge your customers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get these brushes cleaned out. So I'm noticing that the in the cartoon, the Professor X's little hover chair thing here has some very, very, very dark highlights. Like, they're black. And I want to try and recreate that. It's going to be challenging, but I'm going for it.
There was... Where did I see it? I don't know. I've been looking... So if I can't paint minis, I look up minis and I'm like, oh, that's a cool paint scheme. Things like that.
Yep.
And I saw some really cool paint schemes. I can't for the life of me remember where I found them. So I was gonna help you, but now I can't. I'm sorry. That was a long way of saying that.
That's all right. I always, anytime I'm doing comic book minis, I always do. Well, I try to go for comics accurate, and if I can't do that, I go for cartoon accurate. And I always pull up a reference image.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying like there were some really good like, oh man, those like look like they're straight out of a comic book type of thing.
Yeah. But I also take issue with a lot of that too. Let it look like a miniature. Also, there's a fine line.
I agree. I think it depends on your style and how much time you want to invest. I'm assuming that they put a lot of more time than I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
They might be doing it as like a job on the side, or they could do it. There's a whole bunch of things that you could be doing it for.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I know that I'm fully capable of painting some of these characters better than I do. But, I'm not going to devote my entire waking existence to it.
Yeah. I'm just happy with table ready. So
I go for table ready plus, That's my target.
I guess it really depends. What do you define as table ready and table ready plus?
Like table ready, realistically, that's 3 colors and done. But I mean, that is the definition of table ready. But like my definition of table ready is it looks like the character it's supposed to represent.
I agree with that. That's what I like. I want it to look good. Maybe some shadows, have some highlights in there. Have it stand out a little bit. I don't need it to win any prizes.
Right.
As long as I'm happy with it and I'm not sitting there and going crazy if I'm looking at it.
Right. I've won prizes for my minis. That is the thing. I mean, my handle on the Letters Page Discord is, painting contest winner, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm not going for that on a normal basis.
Given enough time, no one will ever hit perfection. But given enough time, you can get pretty darn close.
Yeah.
You can make it look real good. What's the thing about drawing? You're gonna do 1,000 bad drawings before in your lifetime or something like that, or 10,000 bad drawings?
Something like that.
Something like that. So better get to drawing. Same thing with mini painting.
Yep.
You're gonna paint 1,000 bad minis before you get a good one.
Yep. I have all 1,000 of those. They're in a box behind me. Or are they behind me? No, they're in the other room. One of these days I should bust those out on camera. I'm not ashamed by them.
No, you shouldn't be ashamed by how bad your first ones are. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
Right.
You should be like.
You should be proud of your growth.
Yeah, exactly. Put your first mini. I wish I still had my first minis, just so I could see my growth. Unfortunately,
Broody, you've shown your first mini. Oh, dang. Yeah, that is very true. RPD's got a good point too, Chamali. Those first minis are vital for teaching your kids, teaching the next generation.
That's a great point.
I was about to say I had some. It was like a Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman set that came from Night Models.
Yep.
And then it came out when BVS did. I got that painted. Then a couple years later, they came out with the Justice League box set that had those same 3 minis, but then like 3 others.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cheaper for me to buy the box set again as opposed to get the 3 separate ones. And so I repainted those, and I have side-by-side photos of them. And you can there's such a clear difference between the quality of the two.
Yeah.
And that was like a 3-year gap, I think.
So imagine what that gap looks like with 15 years in between.
Yeah.
I actually have a set of the very first dwarfs that I ever painted that are unpainted. That I should bust out on camera and just do one or two of them. Using the techniques that I would do now. One of the things that Chamali suggested that I will do at some point, I just got to find the time. Is just do like little micro tutorials. And I have a bunch of old dwarfs that would work really well for that. And just post those right to YouTube. And I will almost definitely do that at some point. But
only the worst ideas, because
only the worst.
That's a lot more work.
Yeah, it is, but it's also not. Like, I don't know. All right, let's clean this up and then add the red. Oh, yellow over black. It sucks.
It does.
Yellow is atrocious.
But I dare say it was an occupational hazard of this particular model. And trying to paint it in this particular method.
So I was thinking the other day.
Did it hurt?
It does, because I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it or not, but I had an idea. That is, use metallic paints as a base, and then do a thin coat or like a contrast over it.
Would you like to see an example of that?
Does it look good?
I think it looks pretty good.
Recommend using it.
I think it worked really well for what I was trying to accomplish. Let's put it that way.
And what were you trying to accomplish?
Iron Man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, give me 2 seconds. Let me finish this up real fast.
And that's how you did Iron Man?
That is exactly how I did Iron Man. I will go get him. 1 second.
So the reason I said that is because that's how I thought Xavier's chair would have been.
Okay, so I agree. That was my initial thought also. And then I looked at the art, and I'm like, okay, there's actually not that much metal showing through that chair. It's obvious that it is metal, but every single depiction of it does not show it as particularly shiny.
Oh?
It looks very flat.
Okay.
So this is War Machine. Okay, I don't know if you're looking at the stream, but
Yes.
yeah. So this is War Machine, and he is 3 different shades of silver, and then Melon Oil, and then a dry brush of Necron Compound.
Yes.
Okay, so that's yep. This is this exact same technique with a red contrast paint over the top of it.
Huh? Yep. So on need my brush. On stream, it looks good. It looks really good. But it's hard to tell the metallic sides of things because the metallic actually come through as you wanted it to.
It does. It does. It's actually most notable on the base.
Oh, yes. Okay. I like that. Speaking of bases, now we're going to take this into a whole new direction.
A whole new direction. All right. I'm braced for impact over here.
So the Zombicide minis, most of them, the bystanders and the shield, and the vast majority of them, have a flat bottom base.
Okay. Like, yep.
The Crisis Protocol. However,
so Crisis Protocol does not have a flat bottom base, though. It's concave.
Oh. Well, a flat bottom base, how I would expect, or how they've previously done things, I guess.
Sure.
The best. However, since going to, I know they've done it on the Zombicide, and I think they probably would have done it on Marvel as well. But the point is since they're starting to do more interactive bases instead of just a flat bottom, much like you see on this, which is good. However, the problem is that their new bases are hollowed out inside.
Oh, dang.
Let me go grab one. So, like, this is Hulk. And...
Oh! Ugh.
I don't know if I'm in the right area or not.
Yeah, you are.
But, the mold just goes in, and it's like they didn't want to put another layer, or they couldn't put another layer. I don't know the technicalities of it.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the sculpting process to tell.
Yeah. But it's fine if it's just a mini on the table. No one's ever going to look at the bottom and be like, whew, what's going on there?
Right.
But I started to magnetize my minis. Specifically the Zombicide ones. And putting a magnet on a not flat surface
is a nightmare.
Is not easy. So I started printing out additional bases for all these minis. I wasn't sure if I was going to put a base on a base.
Okay. Are you printing them with FDM or are you printing them in resin?
FDM.
Okay. Yeah, I do all my bases in FDM. Although my FDM printer pooped the bed.
Ooh.
The school's FDM printer, I should say. Should be very clear about that. My FDM printer is still perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
That sucks, but still. Are you getting a new one?
We're getting a new motherboard. It should be here on Wednesday. We'll see if that works. And if it does, then great. If not, then yes, we're getting a new one. And in the expected event that we get a new FDM printer at the school, I am going to push very hard for Anycubic. The administrators want to just use this crappy brand because they're cheap and we use them elsewhere in the district and we haven't broken one. Well, I've broken 3. And their customer serve FlashForge. Do not buy FlashForge printers. You heard it here last.
So, I really want to try out a Prussia.
A what?
Prussia. P-R-U-S-A? Prussia.
I don't know that brand.
They are not cheap. They are probably the Cadillac of FDM printers.
Okay, interesting.
So they are notoriously good. or famously good.
I think that's famously good. Yeah, is the way you're looking for that. Ooh, I like this. I don't know how well this is showing up on camera. I'm gonna zoom in for a minute here.
That looks good.
Yeah, I really like the headlights here. It is working. And then we got line there. Dot, 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 line, dot. Okay.
But yes, they're known for being some of the best FDM printers. And I was looking up, but we're talking like they're like thousands.
Yeah.
$1,000 printers. Like they auto level, they do everything smoothly. You can do multiple colors.
I've seen that. I've seen printers do that. That is cool.
Yeah. There's a couple other printers that are really good, and I can't remember the names of them. Probably about a month or two ago, I was really just like looking up more. I was diving into it a little more again.
Well, one of the things that my district refuses to acknowledge, right? On paper, all the discussions that the three of us and Adam have, and more. Yes, RPD. All the discussions we have on Discord, I should be able to write off as professional development. I've shown them numerous times the transcripts of our discussions. And they're like, nah, it doesn't count. I'm like, why? Like, can you give me a reason? And they never can. And it drives me up a wall.
Here's what you can do. Hire Adam and I as consultants.
I know, right?
Rudy, pay us, and then our discussions can be considered.
According to the rules like laid out in our collective bargaining agreement, it should be able to be used. So our my PD person is like taking them to task on it.
Most.
I know, but you're not wrong though, you know.
It's how our society thinks. Like sometimes it's like, oh well,
it's
didn't
foolish.
Spend an obscene amount of money on that, so clearly it's bad.
Right. And yet, when I write off, the stuff that I do at Gen Con as PD, they're like, "Oh yeah, great, that's delightful. We didn't have to pay a dime for that." Because I'm working for Greater Than Games the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, I'm genuinely going to try and get them to pay for my flight this year. Because
do you write that off? What do you say it says?
There's a day before Gen Con. Yes, RPD, Greater Than Games pays us for being at Gen, if that's what you're asking. Not for this, but for Gen Con. There's a day before Gen Con, the Wednesday, that is a day of teacher PD. Like that's what it's there for.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I fudge it for sure. Because any research on board games is technically relevant for my library. But I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think. Oh, wait a minute. All right, so I got two different. No, it's just Thousand Suns Blue, and I'll darken it up with Null and Oil. Oh, boy, I haven't seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in a long time. I watch clips of it all the time, but I haven't actually watched an episode in quite a while. I just finished watching Lock and Key. Did you guys watch that?
No.
Saw the first season, and we just haven't continued.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it picked up a lot after the first season.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've read all the books.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe Hill is a buddy of mine, so of course I read
that's
all the books. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. Like
It's very
seriously,
good.
it's really cool. It's a neat magic system. I like it.
Yeah.
I just didn't care for the show for some reason.
Interesting.
Maybe I've been so far detached from it. It's possible that it just looks like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
I did, however, just finish 2 semi-related shows. The first is Lockwood something of it.
Oh, dang it! I just ruined that.
Lockwood Co. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
It's about ghost investigators
Mm-hmm.
and an alternate world where ghosts like exist to the point where they're like attacking regularly humans and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And like there's an entire like department dedicated to getting rid of them, and like they pay normal investigators, and only children can see and hear and have the talents to dispose of the ghosts.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I have. I've not seen it, but I've read part of the comic.
Okay.
It
I
is
don't know if
definitely
it's a comic or if it's a book or what it is.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a comic.
Okay. But yeah, the show is pretty interesting. It's definitely that it has that young adult
Yeah.
teen vibe to it. I get that, but
That's all right. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
Okay, screw that up.
And the other one that I just saw was Half Bad.
Half bad. I don't know that one.
The and the son of the devil himself, or something like that.
Okay.
And this show was a lot better than I expected it to be. Like I actually went into it on a recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the title is like one of those that it wants to pull you in, but it like whenever I see that, I'm generally thrown off more so than pulled into something. It was like
Fair.
a clickbait title. I'm just like, okay, goodbye. But someone recommended it to me. I watched it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was very. Most of it was pretty. The story beats were obvious, but
Sure, but
again,
like
that
whatever.
doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
The world itself was interesting, and that's what I liked about it. And that's all that it really takes to get me in. Characters don't suck, and the world is interesting. And I'll watch something.
Yeah.
But that's about witches. That's what it is. And there's 2 types of witches in this. There's the blood witches and
The Crypt Witches?
I don't understand that reference.
Bloods and Crypts? Gangs?
Yeah, I got you there.
Thank you, Broody.
No. I can't remember what the other ones are called. They're basically like the white witches or like the good witches. The quote
Oh, okay. The white hat witches, basically.
Yeah.
Not some weird racial superiority thing.
Well, I had to look it up because I was actually really interested. So in the original books themselves, they referred to them as white and black.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't know if it was. Yeah, I think it's more of a statement than a racial.
Yeah. A good versus evil thing rather than a yeah.
But I have not read the books, and I do not know how accurate that is. I think if it was based on race, then I don't think Netflix would.
Yeah, it probably would not have been picked up.
But the point I'm making is that it was actually interesting. The 2 types of witches, the one has like a council, and they expelled all the blood witches, and blood witches are bad guys, and
Yeah.
yada yada. And, the story follows a boy who is a half blood witch, half this other witch type of thing.
Okay. Interesting.
And his mother died when he was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And you follow his story.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you follow in it that I'm not going to spoil, but
yeah.
It's interesting.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so come with me on this journey. I want to do... So he's got this little like blanket wrapped around his waist. I kind of want to do that like a dull grayish purple. Is that weird?
In the cartoon, wasn't it like a green plaid?
Oh, oh God! I don't want to hand do plaid though.
Now that you're saying that, Rudy, I think you are correct.
You're absolutely right. That means I have to freehand plaid. It's gonna bug me if I don't. Ugh.
Right away on your parade.
Oh wait, no. Here's a picture of it being purple. Ah! I wasn't wrong. Okay. Whew.
Congrats, you found the one picture on the internet.
Yep. No, I just scrolled down like a fraction of an inch. I was like, oh, dull grayish purple. Perfect. But no, you guys are absolutely right. It was definitely a green plaid in the show.
Gosh. I hate the tentacles and the horns or whatever they are. They swirl and turn and go and grab each other, and can't get my brush in there.
As I often say, they didn't have painting in mind when they made the model.
Yeah.
No, they have. That looks really cool.
Yeah. Oh, good, I didn't mess that up. So I was reading. So here I go on being. I'll get to that in a second. RPD. Here I go on children's librarian stuff again. I was reading a book to my first and second graders this week called. 2 weeks ago I read How Tom Beat Captain Najork and His Hired Sportsman, which is about a kid who really likes to fool around. And I found that there's a sequel to it called A Near Thing for Captain Najork. And it's about a kid who likes to fool around. And let's be honest here. What kid doesn't like to fool around? You know? So it's very relatable. The kids really like it. And cool. But as we all know, another term for fooling around is, of course, goofing off. And in the second book, Tom invents a substance he calls anti-sticky, which is goof off. The product goof off.
I figured you were going with that.
Yeah. That just made me laugh this week. RPD says, speaking of finishing things, I actually finished 2 games this week. Slipstream, which is a nice little indie version of Outrun, and Persona 5 Strikers, which Adam cowardly backed out of doing himself next. Well.
Speaking of games again, there's a game that just came out. I think it's called High Rise or High Rush, something. Supposed to be a rhythm game. It might be an RPG game. I don't know.
If it's a beat game, then yeah, it's probably an RPG game.
But I've heard really good things about it, surprisingly, and it's on Game Pass.
Nice. Chamali, I can't remember. Were you with us when we did the Thursday night movie nights back in the day?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Or I've never participated.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you'd seen the FP or not.
I have not seen the FP. I've been told about it, and I've put it on my list to watch, and I actually recommended it to people too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think I'd be anywhere near as into it as I am if I hadn't had some really just awesome interactions with the cast and crew.
That makes sense.
It just, like, I miss the whole film schoolness of it all.
Yeah, the way you explained it to me is that, like, they basically had no budget, and they did all these really cool things with no budget.
Yeah, the whole third and fourth movie were shot in a green painted apartment during the pandemic.
That's cool.
Like, that's super rad.
Very much how, like, Clerks was shot.
Yeah.
With no budget.
Yes, honestly, this is in some ways cooler than Clerks, because Clerks, he maxed out credit cards and all kinds of stuff. J-Tro had nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. And I just have tremendous respect for that. Okay. Green. I think I'm going to have to make a custom green here. No, I'm not. Got it. Just going to use a layer paint as a base. Because F you, Games Workshop. I'll do what I want. Is that the right one? Yeah, that's good enough.
But I was going to ask, how is Hi-Fi Rush? Because it looks like it reminds me of, I can't remember what the cel-shaded game that I'm thinking of, but Jet Set Radio Future mixed with like more of a stylized cel-shaded game. But I haven't really seen gameplay on it, so I have no idea how it plays. All I know is that it's rhythm-based.
RPD says Pete played it this week.
And I've heard like that's meant for people that really aren't rhythm-based gamers.
Okay.
Which is, and that's all I know about it.
Here's my take on rhythm. I may have mentioned this before, but like, my take on rhythm games is super strange. I am a rhythm guitarist, and like, rhythm kind of comes naturally to me. But I can't, for the life of me, play rhythm games. And it's very odd.
That is odd.
Oh, those buttons are way too big.
There are some rhythm games I can do, others not so much. Elite Beat Agents was probably...
Yeah, I played that. I did play that.
Guitar Hero in those, not so much.
No.
I love Guitar Hero and Rock Band.
I liked playing them with friends. I like playing them with community, but they weren't for me solo at all.
Yeah, I can't even fathom playing them solo. But like, my friends playing Rock Band would be like, "Oh, we're gonna play this song," and I'll be like, "Okay, great. I know that song. I know it inside and out." Problem is, I know how to play it on my real guitar. So I'd be reaching for the chords that I know and realizing, oh wait, the buttons are at the top of this guitar. This doesn't track.
There's I think it's called Rocksmith.
Rocksmith, yeah. You could plug in an actual guitar. And I was actually okay with that.
That actually sounded really cool to me, but I never played it.
Yeah.
I think the bass is done on this game.
Looks to me. Looks looking solid.
Yeah, I actually really like it. I think the red is a little too bright in some spots, but that's...
Oh, you'll dull that out with layering. I love that I'm using this puke green that I got for literal, like, bile in a more, like, wholesome way.
That's okay.
We did do one of my student films was a parody of Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and that it was called VH2's What Could Have Been presents Master Chief and the Floating Onions.
That's pretty good.
It was the story of what happens when a bunch of Halo griefers get together and play Rock Band, and then get too good for their own, or like too big for their britches.
That's pretty good.
It was fun.
That's very
I wish we'd put it together better. I look back now on a lot of my student films and I'm like, man, I could do that so much better now.
You could, but again, I mean, if we go back to the painting,
Yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. I do not like painting all of these spikes.
Ugh, spikes are a nuisance. Okay, yeah, thanks, RPD.
What's up?
He's going to post a Hi-Fi Rush trailer in Paul's Discord.
Oh, very cool.
The podcast Discord. Actually, RPD, it is worth noting that the quote-unquote Paul's Discord is the podcast Discord. That's sort of all of our territory. We try to refer to it as such. We're not super good at it, but we try. That's not of that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna freehand a pocket square because he always has one, and they forgot to model. The C27 forgot to model it. I think.
I forget.
Bastards.
What's that?
I was just joking. I said those bastards.
Oh.
So I've been painting with these Winsor Newton brushes. These are the stupid expensive ones.
Yep.
I love them.
Okay. Good to know.
Now, I don't do the speed paints with them because speed paints
Right.
contrast can ruin it. Also, I tend to not do full base coats with them.
Sure.
I'll do detail work and part of like a base coat if like I need to get like some sort of like detail base coat or something like that.
Yep.
But for the most part, they're really amazing. They hold a lot of paint, a lot more than I expected, and they're very neat. They're like, and the tip is like it stays as a tip. So with the other brushes that I have that I use, the tip of the brush curls.
Oh, yeah, mine do too. I just started to work around that.
That's because it's synthetic hair, basically.
Yeah. And what you're using is legit, right?
All natural hair, yeah. It's red sable Kaliski or something. It's which basically is a what are they called? I can't remember what the animal is. But during COVID, they had to put a lot of them down, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I would recommend getting at least one brush.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. I got a bunch of spending to prioritize right now. Not the least of which is getting a higher capacity resin printer.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm not far off of that. Honestly, if I take one more Game Boy commission, I should be fine. But I mean, I guess the blessing in disguise here is I live in an area of the world where I can only paint for so long because the weather.
You can only paint for so long?
Or print. Sorry, print.
Yes, okay. That makes sense.
There, I have free-handed his pocket square. I don't know, it's not showing up on camera, but it's there.
Very nice.
Alright, let me drop his skin. Now, okay, here's the question. How white do I want to make him? Like, he's kind of the whitest, right?
Pale, yeah, like... Not ghostly, deathly pale, but...
But, like... I mean, we're talking Rakarth flesh here. Where is it?
Like, elf pale.
Yeah. Like... That's my base coat.
Yeah.
For comparison, like, normally I use this. But I'll highlight it up to probably like this.
Yep. I agree. Ah, shit. Fuck.
So this is one of the earliest C27 minis. and you can tell. I mean, once again, we're right back to that learning and growing analogy. Like, his minis have come so far. Remember how impressed with these we were though when we first started getting them?
I would still say we're impressed. We're just picking out.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, we were so impressed with these, and he's only gotten better.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the issues that we have mostly with him, the minis that they're producing right now, is not the issue with the sculpt most of the time.
It's the issue that they're not characters we care about that we asked for.
Yeah, it's that, or like if it is an issue with the sculpt, it's not the version, or like,
yeah,
oh, that's the '80s version, not the '90s version.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be real here. All Adam and I want is the '90s. We want the '90s back.
The '90s was the best comics.
Absolutely.
I think Starfire just got.
Yes, Starfire looks great.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to have a Teen Titans set. Whether I use them or not for anything, I'm just excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. But not my Starfire.
Oh, that is absolutely my Starfire.
Which Starfire is it?
It's Perez Starfire.
Perez, yeah.
The
George
Wolfman Perez run.
I didn't really get into Teen Titans until the show came out. So.
Yeah, okay, that's very, very, very fair. I would love a Hin and Walsh animated Starfire, but when I was reading the comics, or the comics that I was reading were the '80s ones.
Yeah, and everything is based off the comics, and the comics are amazing. And Wolfman was impressed. Like that run is
top notch. Yeah.
I was about to say started getting into them just before the show came out during the Jeff Johns.
Oh yeah, that was a good run too.
Yes.
I was
going to say that's kind of like my core team. The old school like Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg mentoring Tim Drake, Robin, Superboy, Cassie, Wonder Girl, and Impulse.
Yeah,
it's kind of like this mix between Teen Titans and Young Justice.
Yep. Which actually, the team is now called Titans.
Yeah,
they're still hanging around. But no, I think my favorite Starfire costume, though, and this could be controversial, is the Jimmy Palmiotti Amanda Connor costume.
I think you're just a little biased there.
I don't like that story. I don't like that arc. I just like the way that Amanda draws Starfire. But yeah, it is plausible that I'm just playing the "hey, I'm friends with these people" card.
Just a little biased. It's not a bad thing.
No, no. By the way, Hot and Messy, her art book is so cool.
Is it?
It's really
awesome.
good. Yeah.
It looked really good.
Yeah.
I'm glad she did well on that one.
Yeah. There were a couple of mistakes on the Kickstarter fulfillment, but like when they're doing it themselves, like they are literally in the warehouse doing it themselves.
I'm always happy to see when Kickstarter succeed.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Like art books can't. They just take up space in my house. I don't look at them.
That is the one of like 3 that I have.
But like,
I love too many. I've got like 4 Alex Ross art books.
Oh, really? Alex,
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, though, if you're going to have an art book, might as well make it Alex Ross. That guy.
Agreed. That's... Yep.
RPD says, I remember how impressed you were. You were but a babe in the cradle back then. Now you're a babe too big in the city. I'm only just getting to that comment, sorry. Oh, jeez. Stupid Corax white. Paint doesn't work. Did I ever replace this one? What is this? Celestial gray. Oh, actually, there's some sense to that. No, that's too dark. Gracier? Sure.
Okay. Base coat for Panther done.
Nice. Looks kind of like Korg.
Huh?
He looks kind of like Korg from
Korg?
Korg, the rock guy from Thor. Or at least most people know him from Thor.
I would agree with that statement. I think most people know him from Thor. Whew. Ah. Here I am. Now I have to wait for this to dry.
And we arrive at the namesake of this show.
Speed paints is that waiting for it to dry is a lot longer.
Yeah.
Acrylic.
All right, now Adam would disagree with this, but I am going to use Nuln Oil as the very specifically place Nuln Oil as the ink of choice on Xavier because the way that the cartoon was shaded is very harsh lines.
I would probably say use black as well
I concur.
instead of harsh lines.
But I do need to still paint the stripes on his tie. And that requires Abaddon Black. Adam's not here tonight to whine about it, to moan about it. Sorry. I'm trying to use the term moan rather than whine because I don't like the term whine.
Wine is a very specific type of moaning,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's overused.
Mm-hmm. For general complaints, I do believe that the term should be moan.
Like, got hit up. I know I missed.
Okay, I'm actually really fond of how his tie came out.
Nice.
Come on, camera. Cooperate with me. 1 second. There we go.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Oh, shoot. While I have this out, I should do his eyeballs. Beady little eyes. Beady eyes and big bald head.
Let's say I touched up a little bit of dry brushing. I don't really think there's much more I can do on wires.
Yeah, it seems pretty solid to me. Maybe move her up just. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that one's done.
Yeah, I just dry brushed the white fur to have, because I used the sepia for the wash.
Yeah.
Dry brushed it a little bit over on top.
Stippling over here. It's a little rougher on this side. Okay. I think we should sit and wait for her to dry. I really like how she turned out.
Yeah, it's looking good. I gotta do. Come on.
This shadow. Like that side tomorrow.
Oh, dang.
The one-armed Herdazi.
Alright. Let me get some inks down on this.
So,
Oh,
here's
dog
a
dirt.
question.
Yep.
I have 1,000 yen.
Yes, you
Don't
do.
know what to paint these tentacles. There's 2 of them. They're coming out of the mouth, like tongues. In their lore, they say they have a bright green sac that comes out of the mouths.
Oh, that'd be cool. Make it that.
Consider doing that, their tongues bright green, or having some sort of bright green like slime on them.
Yep.
But I don't. Right now, they're very dark, and I don't want it to contrast and pull from the rest of the model, I guess.
Right. Well, I'm in a similar... So while we ponder that, let's ponder something else as well. Broody, you can weigh in on this as well.
Okay.
I want to do... So I used just the very flat, normal Crisis Protocol base for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to do Cerebro-style floor. Do I... So I did Danger Room... Because does Professor X usually go in the Danger Room, though?
No, that's why I stopped saying that.
No,
Yeah.
he's in like the control room.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to do like, I'm thinking of, it's definitely Mechanica Standard Gray, but the question is, do I go with a very specifically flowing blue ink to get the Cerebro floor, or just go with black?
Do gray with very harsh panel lines. So it's like a steel floor.
Okay.
But it's clean steel, like in the movies, I guess. Is the
Yeah,
best way.
this is the tricky part because Cerebro in the animated series is very different from Cerebro in
the movies. Yeah.
More iconic of what people think of when you say Cerebro. Because in the animated series, he just had like the headset and that was it.
Yes.
That's right.
There was never really a room dedicated to
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is why I kind of want to nod to the movies here.
So if you want a room, I would say panels.
So do you think I should freehand panels like I did with the Danger Room?
You really just need a couple lines, maybe.
Like okay, because I've got two very, very solid ones going through it. There's some cracks, but I think the cracks are fine.
Let's see. Because he covers most of it, it looks like. It's hard to...
Yeah. So this is a very subtle nod, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
But the question is, do I put down like a lead belcher? Or actually, no, it wouldn't be lead belcher. It'd be the brighter one. It'd be Iron Hand Steel. An actual metallic.
Do you want to try a new technique?
I can.
Do you want to try your hand at NMM? Non-metallic metal?
I've done that before. I've done that plenty. I used to paint Space Marines, dog.
Fair. Then try that, maybe.
Yeah, okay. That's not a bad idea. Oh! I'm being stupid! Okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. No, this is perfect. I'm going to do Mechanica Standard Gray, ink with black, no oil, and then Necron Compound Dry Brush.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Sounds reasonable. I don't know. So, the dry brush wouldn't give me Cerebro pulls from that, though. In my head, Cerebro from the movies is always a very clean room. Like, the panels are very clean. It's not like...
It'll work.
Okay. I have faith.
Ow.
Boom.
Brush not cooperating here.
So, actually, do I have a picture? Okay. So even in the art, they have a green tunnel. I just noticed that.
Well, there you go. For the second time tonight, Shamali gets the Learning and Growing GIF. I keep saying this, but I gotta program something to randomize those GIFs, because I've got like 4 of them now. That was a good job for Colin.
How do I dull a color down?
I usually mix it with white or black.
You think white would wash it out?
Sometimes. Put that on your tray so I can see it. Yeah, just add a little white.
Well, luckily I have white right next to it. Floyd.
Okay. RPD is soliciting our input also
Okay.
for future proofing. What plan should I go? What plan should I go with for my mom's birthday present when the time comes to get it? Should I assemble a pre-Shrek DreamWorks box set to round out the trilogy of box sets, or do I assemble a box set of non-Ghibli anime movies? My vote would be pre-Shrek DreamWorks.
Yep, I would agree with that.
That's where I fall very firmly.
I just watched Road to El Dorado last night.
Best movie. God, I love that movie so much.
I do too, and it one of my best friends had never seen it.
What?
Yeah, so when I said I had company over, he had come over yesterday, and I was like, "We're making pizza. We're watching this movie. I'm not gonna let you not see this."
Yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. Yeah, I absolutely adore that movie. Alex and I. Go ahead. Sorry, Jamali.
Cool. I was just gonna say I would third that remark, but not for the same reason.
When we travel, like when we go to conventions, Alex and I always watch Road to El Dorado.
Interesting.
It's like we usually watch it right as soon as, because we always get to conventions like a day or two early, and just especially if it's in a city we haven't been to before, and so it's kind of our we're here early, we're just hanging out in the hotel room, it's nighttime, we haven't met up with anybody yet, we're just gonna watch Road to El Dorado and chill.
Nice. I've never seen that movie, I'll be honest.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
I mean, Elton John on the soundtrack alone is enough to sell a lot of people on it. But the voice acting is top notch. The animation is phenomenal. It's just so cool.
That actually sounds really good. But that is the second time the Road to El Dorado has been brought up. Not the movie, but in fact, the board game was brought up.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I have that.
Which one?
It's what is it? Hang on, it's right behind me.
The older one or the new one?
No, it's a newer one.
So one was, I think, recently kickstarted.
Yes, that's what I have. Oh, Reekland Flesh Shade, you godsend of a shade.
Should I take back everything I said? I actually really like how this looks.
Yeah. The Island of El Dorado is what I have. It is right here. And it's this glorious... I mean, it's the silliest box in all of board gaming. It opens like this. Oh, yeah. But it's a beautiful game. I've played it once. It's a lot of fun. Doug absolutely handed me my face, but it was a good game. We enjoyed it. Nope, that's not it. Yep, Camp Shade. That's the one I'm looking for. That's my way.
has suddenly gotten quiet.
Yeah. We're at that point in the stream where we're just trying to focus up on getting the end, getting to the end. Wow.
Focus.
And just kind of get this stuff creamed.
Have not been able to go to PAX Unplugged lately.
I haven't either.
Yeah, neither have I.
Much as I would like to.
Go this year.
We shall see this year. I mean, it depends on a lot.
My wife has given me the okay so far, but we'll see what happens. A lot of things can happen between now and December.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I'm going to highlight his shirt back to white. I wanted to get the Nuln Oil in there.
But I've never been to Gen Con.
Gen Con is an absolute blast.
That's what I hear.
But like I said earlier in the show, it does, like, having a home. Oh, dang it. I just popped him off the. Oops.
Oh, no.
It's okay, my super glue is right here. It'll take me 2 seconds to fix that.
Good.
I don't know, I probably should have done it that way anyway.
But having a home base is...
It's vital. I mean, like, it makes things so much easier. Where is Cassandora Yellow? There it is.
You said Cassandorian yellow?
Cassandora. As in the Comet of.
Reminds me of Cassian Andor.
That is a fun show.
That show
is amazing.
I'm gonna go and say it's 2 shows. I liked the second show. I did not like the first.
Yes, I'm in the same boat. The first show was fun. The second show was good.
The last 6 episodes of the series. I think it's like 12 episodes, which is a lot.
Too long.
But the last 6 were not just good. They were like
some of the best television I've ever seen.
Yes. Really, really good television. The first 6 pull it down a lot.
Yep.
Namely, the first 3. I almost quit after those.
Yep. Yeah, I genuinely see it as 3 different, as it should have been 3 different shows. And not a single one of them was completely fleshed out the way it should have been. That said, that back 6 was terrific.
Yeah.
All right. One more little thing here. I'm just going to do the Nuln Oil on the base and glue him back down, and we'll be all set. We'll get out of here.
But I really liked how it showed the spark of the rebellion in people.
Yeah.
And how it showed the... Oh. Actually, it didn't show. What the other Star Wars thing that I watched recently was... It's not Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Legends or something? Something with, what's her name? Ahsoka.
Oh, Tales of the Jedi?
That's it. And that was really good, too. I liked how it showed Ahsoka and the story of Count Dooku's fall.
I know very little about Ahsoka. What is her deal?
She is from the Clone Wars.
Okay, that explains why I don't know who she is.
She is Anakin's apprentice.
Anakin's apprentice. Okay.
Anakin's, yes.
Whoever told him he could have an apprentice was an idiot, but that's fine.
And she basically quit being a Jedi at the end of the show.
And yet kept her lightsabers and all sorts of other... I mean, well, okay, yep, fine.
She actually gets like new ones.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I didn't want to go into it.
All right, good night, Remote Air. We're out too. I mean, I'm just gluing this guy back together and then we're done.
I think Clone Wars is really good, and I think Bad Batch extends on it. Bad Batch isn't as good, but it's entertaining.
Yeah. Well, on that bombshell, it is, I think it's time for us to call it. Anyway, let's quickly show off what we did today. We got Professor X going strong here, and I did Hush at the beginning of the show. Brody's got a couple of Thundercats, and then other Mike has the Black Goat of the Woods. So we'll be back next week. Broody, you're off next week, yeah?
I'm going to try to be back. I'm going out of town.
Okay.
I'm coming back Saturday. Hopefully I'll be home by 10 o'clock.
All right. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for that. Hopefully we'll have Adam back. Hopefully he's feeling a little less quote unquote prickly, which is how Ness described him tonight. But at the very least, Jamali and I will be here, out here painting. And thank you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you for hanging out while we do this. It always means a lot. I will be back Monday night, I think. I hope, after dinner and before bed, to play something, probably God of War. I don't think I'm quite ready to go into Mass Effect 3 yet, even though it will be Mass Effect Monday, and that's a bit of a bummer. Anyway, whatever. Guys, this is always a pleasure. It's so nice hanging out with you both. Really means a lot to me. So,
hanging out with you.
Yeah. So, we'll talk to you real soon. Have a good night. Bye.
Yeah.